End of scraps. That being said, so yeah, I'll do this kind of like a YouTube-ish intro for everybody who's listening in. Anyways, we just did a modified Overwatch game mode where everybody has an extra 50% health. And we also reduced healing healing dealt, I guess, which is the amount of health out and around from heroes, from any hero, as opposed to health packs, which we'll talk about that in a second, to balance out the amount of sustain that you get from having extra health. Before I go into the specifics of things that I think stood out quite a bit, does anybody have anything they want to say to share with their experience with increased health Overwatch? I see Bucket.
I feel like, I don't know for sure because I was always on the winning side, but I feel like it's gonna feel worse to lose with more health because like it's harder to get a kill on by yourself as opposed to it just being an attrition of, oh, we did more damage, now we win because we have more health.
What do you mean
Which is
by
kind of what it felt like. Like
I feel like
it's like
having a good team comp is a lot more important here.
it's harder to turn a fight around, I guess.
it's harder to turn a fight around and having a good team composition?
To come back from behind, I guess.
Well, why would that feel bad? Well, what's the difference though? Like, why was that? Why is that so different between regular Overwatch and now? Like, I understand obviously, like the initial pop off potential isn't really there because you have to deal. You can't just like eliminate someone,
yeah,
and then worry the next person. But why would it not feel? Yeah, what's the difference there?
I guess it's just because like you can't take a duel 1-on-1 and expect to win it quickly, I guess.
Like, to me, it felt like it fundamentally changed how fights, I guess, just how fights turned out, because they were a lot more extended, but also I think the mistakes added up over time, especially too with the reduced healing. Because normally in Overwatch it's really easy.
That's something that's always true.
I noticed that since time to kill was so much longer, staggering was so much more punishing.
True. Yep.
I think staggering. Actually, here's a weird perspective too from last week when we did lowered health. Right. I think staggering was more punishing, but it was harder to do. It seemed like you guys actually did end up grouping up quite a bit, and when one person was really staggered, as long as they were able to kind of sustain a little bit, then the other person was back from the fight, to get them. So it's relatively easier, but the value you get from the staggers seems way higher.
I think it's a different kind of stagger.
Okay.
Because last week we saw people coming back, people who died first coming back and then getting killed and then being staggered. Whereas in this one, it felt like the first person who died was almost back by the time the fight was over.
Yes.
So then that person is almost more or less staggered because the fight took so long to conclude, I guess.
I thought some stuff felt really good. Guys, I am hearing keyboards and noises from your microphones. If you're not saying anything, please mute yourself.
Yes, sleepy.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm hearing those beautifully. What do you have? Custom keycaps and stuff like that on yours? I know that. I know you do. Yeah, exactly. There we go. I can hear them.
A beautiful double shelf PBT and switches.
You're not gonna name any names or anything. In terms of overall feel, though, I do think it is a different game, but I also I wasn't obviously playing in with you guys as a spectator, but it certainly felt more of it, or it was a fun play style overall. It just needed like a lot of tuning, but it was a very different play style originally than or it's a very different play style obviously than half health. Sorry, Kiri, I'm hearing my voice through your microphone. Please mute yourself. Or something. Thank you. I don't know if I prefer it. I think it feels more of like an MMO style perspective where you do have a lot of time. There's a lot of like mistakes don't really go unpunished unless you are like staggered. You're full staggered. Um, it also feels like, I'll point out too, it does simplify a lot of the fights. I don't know if you guys felt the same thing.
Not like entirely.
No?
What I feel like compared to last week when we had a half or less health, I felt like last week individual like skill mechanics mattered a lot more because with how low the health pools were, one person could turn around an entire fight just by being better than the rest. But with how large the health pools were this time around, I felt like having a good team composition, communicating with your team well, having good strategy, resulted in just dominating entire fights just because the team was just prepared a lot better than the other. Um, like having certain hero combinations or certain positioning, or having one person flank while the other two distract, like Sleepy, Bucket, and Ben were doing for most of the. So yeah, I don't think it simplified it a bit. It just like changes what's more important during the fights.
Okay. Better or worse? Do you think it was a better way of playing Overwatch? Like, is that the kind of feel that you prefer, or and really for everybody here? I'm curious. Is that a feel you prefer, or do you prefer the quicker pace, faster deaths, kind of game mode?
I don't know, honestly. I felt like both directions were a bit extreme.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
Especially because the heroes are just not balanced around it at all. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, is the goal to, I imagine, like that's where the sweet spot, I guess, is where Overwatch kind of sits at the moment. It's like either you're balancing too far one way where there's too much sustain, and too far the other way where there's too little sustain and everyone just dies instantly, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's also because turning the switch for every single champion at once with the exact same parameters um, isn't a very balanced way to do things.
Yeah, that's
And obviously, you get 1,000 health tanks and supports with no healing, um, and just certain fucking DPS that do so much damage against higher health opponents like Reaper and Symmetra. Or Sombra, who has so much fucking value because of her hacks. Like you can quickly point out which champ or which heroes have the most impact, and which ones don't, because of how the heroes are balanced around normal Overwatch.
But was it the hero or was it how I was playing her? Because I ran it like that for a reason.
A bit of both.
Like I was playing like that for a reason.
I mean, you definitely played her very well. Let's not get it wrong, but the way Sombra is played generally and her kit does allow for a lot of luxuries. Let's just say.
yeah, that's something I noticed across the board though too. Is like some heroes, their sustainability plus even more sustain, uh, that like it just like added to the level of or it added to the power they already have, which is obvious from the get go, but I guess this really emphasized it more than everything else. Especially too, as I was saying, like we didn't like go over every single hero and balance them across the board, like a balance between the heroes as much as I did a flat rate increase, which highlights a lot of those abilities which are which already could be problematic, I guess. But I don't think they're a problem. I liked watching it. I think it was kind of cool to watch, especially since there wasn't so many of the moments where it's like, oh, where did that person go? They just disappeared. A lot of the fights, you like know when there's a fight happening. You see when people are engaging each other. You see a lot more. But it didn't. I don't think it felt as good. I think going for a much higher health Overwatch, especially too with like this is why we moved away from goats. Like we pushed that away. Is because like that high health, long sustain, and even now Overwatch is. I know sent me some videos and stuff like this, and this I've been really thinking about a lot. That like long form sustain fight is not that fun. It's just not a very good way of playing the game.
Yeah, because like especially with goats, is the thing is it was only a long fight if no one made a mistake or it didn't use her bubble perfectly, she dies. Doesn't matrix the right wing fire strikes, he dies.
Oh, is bucket lagging out for anyone else from me or?
Yeah, I don't hear.
It like.
Yeah.
Yep, that's lag.
Yeah, we're catching bucket. We're catching like 60% of what you're saying.
The Microsoft admins are silencing him.
Exactly. They're going, this man has too much good information. All right. Well, I will cut it off there. As usual, guys, thank you all so much for coming out. Of course, at patreon.com/scrub club. There's bucket lagging in and out. This will be going up on the Scrub Club Media YouTube channel. I will see you all same time, same place next week. Have a great one, everybody.
Peace.